All right, so today we're going to dive into something, well, a little different. It's this strange and beautiful piece of digital art that's part poem, part code, and part song. When you first see it, it honestly just looks like chaos. But trust me, stick with me here, because hidden inside all of that is a really, really cool idea. So it just kicks off like this. A super fast, kind of cryptic transmission of, well, who even knows what, right? You're just hit with this stream of words and numbers. Bam, bam, one right after the other. It's got this vibe, kind of like you're hearing an old computer boot up. Or maybe you've stumbled onto some secret coded message. And it just keeps going. So, what in the world is this? What are we even looking at? Okay, let's really get into this. That whole thing we just saw, it totally feels like a puzzle, right? A mysterious message just begging to be cracked. So, for the next few minutes, let's put on our code breaker hats. I mean, seriously, what are we looking at here? Is it a secret code, a random shopping list, maybe lyrics for a really, really weird song? The first step to solving any puzzle is always the same. You gotta figure out what the pieces even are. All right, let's see where this is going. Because if you stare at something chaotic for long enough, sometimes, just sometimes, you start to see a pattern. We just have to figure out where to look. Okay, check this out. This is where it gets really interesting. When you start actually sorting those words, you realize, hey, wait a minute, these aren't random at all. Not even close. They fall into these super clear categories. You've got this whole group of words from physics, relativity, quantum, fusion. Then, over here, a whole set from music, rhythm, sonata, tempo. And kind of woven in between all of that are these huge abstract ideas, illusion, infinity, wonder. So cool. So, here's the big takeaway. This isn't just a messy pile of words. No way. What we found are the building blocks. This is a hand-picked vocabulary, a specific set of words chosen for a reason. The question is, what's the reason? Well, to figure that out, we need the key. And lucky for us, the source material actually gives it to us. It's this beautiful, poetic monologue that basically unlocks the whole thing. It's what gives all that vocabulary we just found its meaning. And suddenly, the whole vibe just changes. That frantic data dump feeling is gone, and instead you get this slow, thoughtful voice. It starts talking about Einstein, back when he was a young clerk in Bern, and how every little detail matters. And then the poem just dives into these huge ideas. It starts talking about time, but not like we usually think of it, not as a straight line. It's talking about time as something that can stretch and bend and maybe even come back on itself. And then, bam, we get this line, and it's the one that just connects everything. Suddenly, it's not just about physics, and it's not just about music. It's about using one to explain the other. Okay, so let's actually connect the dots here. We've got our code, that vocabulary list with all the physics and music words, and we've got our key, the poem itself. Let's see exactly how they click together. And look at this, it's a perfect example. Remember seeing the word waves in that first chaotic list? Well, here it is, right inside the poem. Waves crash endlessly. See? The list wasn't something separate. It was literally the artist palette, the words they were using to paint this picture. And here's another one. Relativity from the list becomes the absolute core idea of the poem. So the code and the key, they're not two different things. They're two halves of the same idea. But wait, that still leaves one big question hanging, doesn't it? Yeah. What's up with the numbers? Fusion 4, Rhythm 6, Sonata 1. I mean, they're obviously there for a reason, but you never hear them in the actual poem. So what are they doing? So the source material never explicitly tells us, which honestly is kind of part of the point. It's art, it leaves it open. But we have some really good clues. Could they be a beat, like a percussion track? Maybe they're just marking different sections? Or, and this is my favorite theory, given all the music words, maybe they're a kind of rhythm, a counterpoint playing against the words. Whatever they are, what they do is add this whole other layer of structure. They give the scientific language a pulse. They turn what could be a dry list of ideas into something that feels, well, it feels like a piece of music. It's a composition. So you take all these pieces, the physics words, the music words, the numbers, the poem, and it all comes together. It all builds up to this one final, incredibly powerful metaphor that just locks everything into place. The beach. Just Think about that for a second. What is a beach? It's made of billions, trillions of tiny individual grains of sand, right? So each one of these concepts, relatedity, sonata, infinity, it's like one single grain of sand. On its own, it's just a tiny little thing. But when you put them all together, you get the beach, a single, massive, unified whole. It's a beautiful metaphor for what knowledge really is. And the whole poem ends on this one stunning image. It says that trying to understand the universe, trying to wrap your head around something as huge as relativity, it's like standing on a massive beach, trying to count every single grain of sand. So that kind of leaves us with this final question to chew on. Maybe understanding isn't about trying to count every single grain. Maybe real understanding, that aha moment, comes when you finally take a step back and you stop seeing the sand and you start seeing the beach. You see how all those tiny separate pieces come together to make something so much bigger and so much more beautiful.